Hey folks, welcome to donation request week. So your technical challenge this week is you're building off of last week's technical challenge of making a proposal, a club proposal. So for this challenge, think of these as really connected. Now you're going to write a donation request letter for money for your new club that you proposed last week. And I also, I want this to be useful. So if you are already in an organization, right, a nonprofit, or if you have your own business, feel free to use this donation request letter to actually, write to a real audience for your organization or business. I think most of us, though, will be writing from this perspective of, okay, here is this club I could start, and then let me find a real donor, right, for my club. So you can sort of choose your audience based on your real situation for this. But I think most of us will, write to an audience that would fund your proposed LW Tech club. Okay, so as always in technical writing, you start with the rhetorical triangle. So that's what you see here. And I'll just sort of blow this up a little bit more. So think of it this way, right? You want to start any writing project by looking at the rhetorical situation, right? And rhetorical is just a fancy word, just means, persuasion, communication. So think of it this way, the purpose, right? Right, starting at the purpose is we're making a donation request. We're asking for money, right? To a very specific audience. You're going to find someone that is a credible, real audience, right? Organization, company, state org, agency that would fund your Lake Washington Tech Club, right? That's your audience. So this is a very formal audience because you're asking for money, right? So you obviously can't use slang. This is dear, Boeing and Co. Right? Thank you very much for considering my donation request. We would love to hear from you. So that's your audience. The speaker is you, right? And you also want to state your credibility, right? You could be like, okay, I'm a club founder of the aviation club at Lake Washington Tech, right? So you are the speaker, right? You're the writer. The tone, again, is formal. The subject is, again, this is a donation request letter. The context is, right? Donation request letters are often written from nonprofits to people with money, right? So often corporations are the audience for these. Boeing Co. is a great example, right? And I know that they do, right? They do fund a lot of things, or Microsoft, right? So that's the context, that's the purpose, that's the tone, and the medium, right? That's like, well, what mode or what style or what medium are we using to send this message? Right? It's not a tweet. It's not. You can do this as a handwritten letter, but most of these are through email. So think of this as the medium is this is an email letter request, right? Written in paragraphs. These are generally anywhere from like 1 to several pages long. For this technical challenge, I'm looking for at minimum 1 page double spaced, right? If you want to go on to 2 pages, awesome. But that's the minimum for this is 1 page double spaced. I think to get all the parts of this letter, that's the minimum. Okay, so that's the rhetorical triangle that just sort of explains or really fills in the context of what we're doing. So let's go through the assignment and break it down. You have a discussion this week, as always. You're going to post your donation letter here, right? And then you will read and give feedback on one other colleague's donation letter in the discussion here. And I give you a lot of feedback points or questions that you might ask or pursue, or look through that frame or those glasses. Okay, so again, we're doing this through discussion. We're sharing out our letters through discussion. So let's go through the donation request letter, the structure, the organization, right? These things have a definite structure and organization. You know, they have to meet certain expectations of the audience, right? So people have expectations when they receive these that they are going to do certain things, certain known, common, general things, right? So your letter also has to do all of these things. Okay, so first thing, obviously, is the address, right? And I give you some examples of this. You know, I do like Dear Boeing Co., right? Or Dear Alaska Airlines, right? These are all local aviation companies, right? If I'm starting an aviation club, right, at LW Tech. So you have to, obviously, this includes research. You have to find a real agency that would fund your club. And folks, this is a crucial step. You can't just make up something, or it can't be unreasonable. What do I mean by unreasonable? You can't write like, "Dear President of the United States," like fund my. That's not right. Like that's unreasonable. Or, "Dear, you know, Elon Musk," right? There's just some agencies that are just not reasonable, right? So you want to do some serious research around, okay, here's my club. Who would be interested in donating money to this, right? And I'll get into why I think Boeing would be interested in funding an aviation club at Seattle in my letter in a moment. So that's the salutation. The opening is you want to introduce yourself. You know, I could be like, you know, I'm Johnny Calavita. I'm starting this club at LW Tech, right, in Kirkland, and it's an aviation club. It's the first of its kind, right, at our college, and you know, we have a small budget through our, you know, student fees, etc. So that's why I'm reaching out to you today, right, so that we can fund a speaker series, right, and get our students more hands-on training by bringing in like aviation mechanics, right, so we can sort of introduce people to that possible major, right? So I've introduced myself. I've introduced the club. I've introduced myself. I could say, you know, I'm an aviation hobbyist, or, you know, this is my major, right? Like I'm introducing myself and my organization or club. That should be in your opening after the address. Establish a connection with your audience. Okay, your letter has to do this. For example, right, it's that pathos, it's that emotion. It's, you know, why should they keep reading? Why should they care? I might say something after I explain who I am of, you know, the airline industry, right, has a tremendous lack of pilots right now, right? This is, you know, I'm writing to Boeing or Alaska Airlines, and my club, right here at, you know, Little Hole Lake, Washington, is really trying to, right, create interest and stir and excite the next generation of pilots, so that we can sort of fill this pilot shortage that we have, so that we can get more people interested close up with aviation, right? Basically telling Boeing or Alaska Airlines, you know, there's this dearth of people in the airline industry right now, some of it due to COVID. And this club is just a small little way, right? A small drop in the bucket of getting more people, you know, interested or on the radar or asking questions about or pursuing aviation as a possible major, aviation mechanics or any, right? There's so many subfields. So that's my connection with the audience, right? And Boeing's going to eat that up, right? They're going to be like, oh yeah, we do need more, you know, future mechanics if, you know, we don't have enough mechanics or whatever. Our workforce needs to be stronger, right? So I've got my connection. I've engaged my audience, right? I'm speaking to their values. Folks, this is the place when you're engaging your audience to, I would look up the values of the company that you're making the request to, right? I would go to Boeing's mission and values. I would cite that, read that, quote that back to them, right? I see that your mission is this blank, quote it. And, right, that is also part of our mission is, you know, to inspire the next generation of aviation mechanics, right, who can go to work at brilliant companies like Boeing, right? Does that make sense? So I've engaged my audience. I've connected to their values, to what they want. Then I thank them, right? Thank you for considering this donation request. Take care, best regards. Sincerely, you know, Johnny Calavita. That's the general, right? That's how it should hang generally. And these are all readings, obviously, this week on Canvas. Your other reading really breaks down making the request, justifying the need. This is some of the nitty gritty of the letter that your donation request has to do. So what do I mean by making the request? Justifying the need, right? So after your opening, after you introduce yourself, you need to describe and justify the need. Well, what does that mean? Your audience wants to contribute. If they want to contribute, they need to know that there's some need or something that they're helping, right? People like to help. So you have to describe the need, right? What's the need for the donation, right? I could say, this is a fledgling club. We're in need of funding so that we can bring in aviation mechanics to give hands-on demonstrations so that students, right, in Kirkland and Red, right, students at LW Tech can really sort of see what the aviation mechanic major is all about and be inspired so that they might go on to major in this. But we need sort of this to bring in these people to sort of meet this goal, right? To connect people to this major, right? So I've described this need, right? We need money to bring in these aviation mechanics to excite the next generation, right? So that's me just sort of briefly describing and justifying the need. Obviously spend, 2 to 7 sentences on that. Ask clearly, right? You want to be really specific what you're asking for. I could be like, I'm asking for $10,000 for funding so that we can bring in monthly or bi-monthly, right, aviation mechanic experts from across, Seattle, right? So be really clear in your ask. State the benefits, not only for, right, my club, right, but for my audience, right? I could say, this not only helps students, right, in the Seattle area, but this, right, is raising awareness. It's training the next generation of people who want to go into the airline industry. So do you see how I'm stating this grander, this loftier benefit that Boeing or Alaska Airlines would really connect with? You can also go into some of these, don't forget, like this could be a tax deduction for you. So there's a lot of little nitty gritty things that you are free to address. Provide a path for action, right? What will the donation accomplish? What is the next step, right? Will they email me a response? Will we meet on Zoom, for a follow-up, right? So you could feel free to be like, I would love to meet on Zoom, to answer any of your questions that you have about the club and more about this speaker series or whatever. So that is the breakdown, folks. I hope that is helpful. I hope this challenge is invigorating. I hope this is exciting. So I think this is a great technical challenge this week. And again, we're aiming for clarity, we're aiming for courtesy, and completeness, right? A complete technical donation request letters does most of the stuff I just described. Okay, thank you, folks. As always, email me if you have any questions. I'm always here. I love meeting with folks on Zoom. Thank you.